These 7 mistakes keep men stuck at 20% body fat or above, and the issue isn't always discipline. It's a few common, simple things that quietly kill your progress. People think, if I only eat super clean and train even harder, fat will finally come off. But after coaching men for the last 9 years, I've seen these hurdles again and again. So I'll break down these 7 mistakes that stall fat loss so you know what to fix to start getting leaner. Most people don't get stuck because they're eating shit all day, but calories are quietly sneaking in the back door. It's things like the extra drizzle of olive oil and dressings, healthy or unhealthy snacks, finishing the kids' leftovers, a handful of nuts, a scoop of this, a sip of that, the late night grazing after a long day, and forgetting to hit the subscribe button. Well, that won't affect your body fat, but watching my videos will show you how to get lean. Anyway, none of these things feel like a big deal on their own, but when you add them up over the days and over the weeks, they ruin your calorie deficit and will stall fat loss. Then you might panic and blame one bad meal, but one meal does not kill your fat loss. It's the bleed out that follows when you write off the entire day, then the scale spikes the next morning, and then suddenly one meal turned into 3 cheat days. Now it feels like you're stuck because if you overeat today, you're carrying that energy into tomorrow. But I'm not implying that you have to be perfect. The fact is, at any point in time, you're either in a calorie deficit or you're not. So if today you are not in deficit, your job is to make sure that tomorrow you are. And fat loss really comes from spending more days in a deficit than out of a deficit. So this mistake that keeps people stuck is the hidden calorie creep, simply because they don't notice it happening. However, fixing this next mistake will also fix this calorie creep that we just talked about. If you ask most people about their diet, you will hear things like,
I eat pretty clean.
I don't eat much junk.
I rarely eat out.
okay, sure, sounds okay at face value, but when you actually measure it, the numbers tell a different story. Now, I'm not talking about OCD level, weighing every leaf of lettuce that you eat, but if you're not accurately tracking what you eat, you are simply guessing, which leaves a lot of room for calories to creep back in. There's even research on this. One study found that people underreported how much they were eating by an average of 47%, while also overestimating how much they exercise, up to 51%. So people who think they're eating around 2,000 calories could be eating up to 3,000 calories. Now, you don't have to track every single day forever, just long enough to learn it and actually get lean. And then once you have the data, you know exactly what to adjust, and the leaner you get, the more this is going to matter. Because going from very overweight down to around about 20% body fat can work without doing a lot of tracking. But once you're pushing below that 20% range, winging it isn't going to cut it anymore. So tracking is the fastest way to see what the problems are and how to fix it. And this is also going to help you avoid this next third mistake. It's common for people to smash a workout and then check their fitness watch, see a big calorie burn number, and think that they have earned all this food. Now, technically that can happen, but here are 2 problems with that. First is that if you're trying to lose fat, eating more food is going to shrink your calorie deficit. So that extra calorie burn only helps fat loss if you don't eat back those calories, obviously. The second problem is accuracy. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Personalized Medicine compared popular fitness devices, and they found that while things like heart rate and steps were fairly accurate, calorie burn estimates were not. Calories burned varied anywhere from 27% up to over 90% depending on the device. So you might think you've burned 600 calories, but in reality, it could be closer to 300 to 400 calories. Then if you add a dessert, an extra snack, or a couple of drinks, you've completely wiped out the deficit you thought you had already earned. And this is why I don't treat food calories and calorie burn as the same thing, because your training improves how your body looks, how you move, how you perform, your fitness and cardio, all that. Your food intake determines whether you're losing or gaining fat. So you want to track both, but judge them separately. And this makes fat loss so much simpler when you do this. However, this mistake can be more damaging if it's combined with this next fourth mistake. When trying to lose a lot of fat, for a lot of people, it's like they have their right foot planted on the accelerator, maxing out the revs, but their left foot is also leaning on the brake because their sleep is terrible. This is a core reason that losing belly fat becomes slow and stubborn and hard, because sleep is like either a fat loss enhancer or an inhibitor. Studies have found even a few days of short, suppressed sleep can reduce testosterone by about 10 to 15%. But it actually goes deeper than that. A large study followed 421,000 adults, and they discovered that poor sleep, things like taking longer to fall asleep, waking up frequently, was linked to a significant decline in muscle mass over time, which is a problem because your muscle is what supports your metabolism. So as you can see from this graphic, poor sleep creates this negative spiral. Inflammation goes up, fat gain becomes easier, sugar and fat metabolism gets worse, and the body becomes less effective at maintaining muscle. But here's the simple stuff that can actually fix your sleep. Aim for 4 to 5 sleep cycles per night, which is about 6 to 7.5 hours of actual sleep. Going to bed in the same 30-minute window every single day, no food and alcohol within 3 hours of bed so that your heart rate and body temperature can drop, helping you get more deep sleep. Keeping the room dark and cool, roughly about 19 to 22 degrees Celsius or 66 to 71 Fahrenheit. 1 hour before bed, reduce stimulation and stress. Just relax. And I also use a Manta sleep mask and mouth tape, which makes my sleep more consistent. When sleep improves, appetite control, energy improves, hormones and muscle growth all improve with it. Then fat loss naturally becomes easier. And if sleep is already holding you back, this next fifth mistake only adds fuel to the fire. Now, full transparency, I think alcohol is trash, but you can still drink and get lean. Many of my clients drink weekly and they're still able to lose fat. So it would be inaccurate to say alcohol makes you fat, but it definitely makes fat loss harder. There's plenty of research on alcohol's impact on fat metabolism, insulin resistance, and sleep quality, but we don't need to overcomplicate this. It's really simple. First, it's empty calories. A few drinks can wipe out hundreds of calories almost in an instant for no nutritional value in return. Even one beer or wine per day can add up to 1,000 calories or more over the entire week. Second thing is it lowers inhibition. You're more likely to snack, order more food, and overeat when you're drinking. And third, it disrupts your sleep, your heart rate, your body temperature, and all that stays elevated. Then recovery and appetite control the next day is going to suffer. So a couple of drinks on a Saturday is not a mistake if it's deliberate. The problem is this compound effect across the entire week. So reducing the frequency can help you make losing fat noticeably easier. And this links directly to the sixth mistake. So recently I did a little experiment. I posted a poll asking what is the hardest phase of fat loss. And with over 500 votes, 57% said it takes longer than you thought. In a second poll about why lower belly fat is harder to lose, with 800 votes, 50% of the votes went to impatience. And honestly, I'm glad people voted the way they did. But here's where it becomes a problem. See, most guys set unrealistic timelines, and I can prove this with math. 1 kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds, is 7,700 calories. If you tried to lose that in a week, that's 1,100 calorie deficit every day, which is way too aggressive and difficult to sustain long term. But if you halve that, now you're looking at only 550 calorie deficit per day, which is much more manageable. And if you don't know what your timeline is, I built a free calculator, links below. So now we can zoom out and you can see that if you need to lose, say, 20 kilos or 40 pounds, well, for most guys, it's probably more like 25 or 50 pounds to actually see ab definition. But the math on 20 kilos and 44 pounds is about 154,000 calories of stored fat. So think of it like storage. Every day you're in a 550 calorie deficit. You're deducting that from the fat storage. So the mistake is if you expect fast results, you'll end up doing extreme things that is never going to last anyway. And that is why patience always beats intensity. And this leads to this last seventh mistake. So when guys hear that it's going to take longer than you think, they start trying to speed it up. like hitting the gym 5 or 6 days a week, adding extra cardio every day, zero sugar, low carb, no alcohol, no restaurants, eating separate diet meals from the family, taking fat burners, looking at Ozempic, TRT, peptides, water fasting, you fucking name it. What did I miss from this list? Drop it in the comment. So for a few weeks, this can work. The scale drops quicker, you feel more disciplined than a Shaolin monk, but there's still a pink elephant in the room. This hard and fast strategy is as fragile as an internet troll's little ego. It only works when your motivation is peaking through the roof, your work is calm, schedule's easy, sleep's good, family's happy, but the moments that stress hits, work, all that stuff, hectic lifestyle ramps up, shitty sleep, emergencies, then the whole thing collapses. Not because you're weak, but because perfect plans require perfect conditions. Fat loss isn't about who can suffer the most. It's about who can repeat simple and robust routines for long enough to get results. Just 3 effective workouts per week that builds muscle without smashing your body. A moderate deficit with a flexible structure so you can still eat with the family and actually enjoy your meals. And a program that gives you room to adapt when life is hectic so that you keep losing fat. It's the sustainable plans that create the permanent results. I've had guys lose 10 to 20 kilos or 20 to 40 pounds doing nothing extreme, just fixing the fundamentals and their daily metabolism. So if you're tired of restarting every 6 months, this is exactly what we fix in my metabolic recon method. It's the one-to-one coaching program for successful men who want to lose belly fat and maintain a 6-pack lean shape without sacrificing their whole life for it. If that sounds like you, tap the link in the description for more details. The spots are capped due to the tailored one-on-one approach. And after you do that, go watch this video next to see the 7 signs that you're actually losing belly fat that aren't obvious yet.